All right, let's dive in. Today, we are tackling something pretty intense. The battlefield of competitive entrance exams. We're talking JEE NEET, these massive tests.
Yeah, the kind that demand, well, pretty much everything you've got for a year, maybe two.
Mm-hmm.
It's a huge undertaking.
Exactly. And that sheer volume, the pressure, it swamps so many students, they just feel overwhelmed.
Completely. It's not just the books, it's the mental game, juggling subjects, keeping going day after day.
So we all know you have to study hard. But the real question is, how do you study smart? And that's our mission for this deep dive. We're cutting through the noise.
How are we doing that?
We've got actual FAQs from students answered by, top experts in the field. We want to give you a shortcut to the stuff that actually works.
Okay, good. So focusing on efficiency, minimizing wasted time and effort. Not just generic tips, but optimizing how you use your time, your study techniques, and crucially, your mental stamina.
Right. That resilience piece is huge. Okay, let's get into it. The biggest hurdle for almost everyone, just sticking to the plan. What's the first piece of advice that jumps out from the sources?
Well, it's actually kind of counterintuitive, the experts say. Stop making those super rigid hour-by-hour daily timetables.
Really? But isn't that what everyone tells you to do? Make a detailed schedule?
That's the common wisdom, yeah. But the feedback from experts is that they often lead to failure. You miss one slot, maybe something unexpected happens, and suddenly the whole day feels like a write-off. Your motivation just tanks.
Ah, I see. That feeling of being constantly behind. So what's the fix?
The fix is shifting your perspective. Move to a weekly or maybe even a fortnightly goal-based plan. Think bigger picture targets, not minute-by-minute tasks.
Goals, not just hours logged.
Okay.
And for the day itself, how much detail should you actually plan?
Keep it simple. Just 3 or 4 major tasks for the day. That's it. And critically, always leave some buffer time. Don't schedule every single minute.
Right. Builds in flexibility. Reduces that feeling of failure if one thing runs over. You still hit your main goals.
Exactly. It's about setting yourself up for consistent wins, even small ones.
Okay, that handles the when and how of planning. But what about the where? I mean, students are already in school or coaching. Where do they find the extra hours for this deep self-study?
This is key. The source material lays out a clear hierarchy. School or coaching. That's primarily for understanding new concepts, getting that first exposure.
Okay.
But the real work, the mastery, that requires dedicated self-study time. We're talking 4 to 6 hours every single day. And this time is sacred.
Sacred how?
It needs to be purely for active problem solving and deep revision, not just rereading notes or watching lectures again. It's about doing.
4 to 6 hours daily on top of classes. That's intense. And what about class 12 students? They're learning new stuff, but also need to revise all of class 11. How do they manage that?
Yeah, that's a common struggle. The advice isn't to try and redo the whole year. It's more surgical. Dedicate a specific, smaller window just for class 11, like maybe 2 or 3 hours every weekend. Saturday or Sunday morning, perhaps.
And what do they do in that time? Just read.
Hey, focus. Focus specifically on the high weightage chapters from class 11, the ones that give the most bang for your buck in exams. And then immediately test yourself. Chapter-wise tests.
Ah, so you revise, then instantly check if you've actually retained it and can apply it. Find the gaps.
Precisely. It's targeted revision and immediate feedback.
Okay, planning, time allocation, makes sense. Before we shift to actual study techniques, there's one resource everyone seems tempted to sacrifice. Sleep.
Oh, yeah. The all-nighter myth.
Right. Pulling late nights to cram more in. What do the experts say about that?
They are incredibly clear on this. It's a huge mistake. 7 to 8 hours of sleep is mandatory, non-negotiable.
Mandatory, not just nice to have.
No, absolutely essential. Sacrificing sleep is labeled as actively counterproductive. It tanks your focus, messes with memory consolidation, and slows down your thinking, your problem-solving speed.
So you might feel like you're studying more, but the quality plunges.
Exactly. You're actually hurting your performance, not helping it. It's about the quality of those 4 to 6 self-study hours, not just adding more low-quality time.
Got it. Optimize the waking hours by protecting the sleeping ones? Okay, let's pivot then. How do you make those dedicated study hours really count? Let's talk techniques and resources.
Right. And this brings us to what the sources call the NCERT paradox.
The NCERT paradox. Okay, I'm intrigued. What's the deal with those standard textbooks?
Well, they play a dual role, and it's crucial to understand the difference. For physical and inorganic chemistry, NCERT is basically the Bible.
The Bible.
Yeah, the experts state that almost all questions, directly or indirectly, come from NCERT concepts in those areas. You absolutely must know them inside out.
Okay, mandatory for chem, but...
But for physics and maths, While insert provides the essential foundation, it's insufficient for the level of problems you'll face in JEE or even NEET physics.
Insufficient. So you need it, but it's not enough on its own for those subjects.
Exactly. You need to go beyond insert with supplementary problem sets, coaching materials, reference books for the required depth in physics and maths problem solving.
That distinction is super important for resource allocation. Now, related to using materials, lots of students get stuck just reading theory, rereading chapters over and over.
You know, it feels productive, but it often isn't. There's a specific ratio recommended to combat this.
What's the magic number?
It's the 80-20 rule. Roughly 20% of your study time on theory reading, reviewing concepts, and the other 80% on active problem solving and practice.
80% on problems. That's a lot more than most probably do.
It is. The idea is you only dip back into the theory when you hit a problem you can't solve because you're missing a concept. The problem drives the theory review, not the other way around.
That forces active learning, targeted learning. Makes sense. Okay, so when you're in that 80% zone, tackling numerical problems in physics and chem, any specific method recommended? People often rush the calculations.
Yes, there's a clear three-step process. Identify, formulate, solve.
Identify, formulate, solve. Break that down.
Okay. Step 1. Identify. Before you even think about numbers, identify the core physics or chemistry principle, the concept, the formula needed for this specific problem.
Step 2.
Formulate. Now you look at the given information, the variables, write them down, set up the equation based on the principle you identified, make sure your units are consistent before calculating. This is where many errors happen.
And only then.
Only then. Step 3. Solve. Do the actual calculation. The structure comes first, the number crunching last. It prevents jumping to conclusions or making silly math errors under pressure.
A system to reduce those avoidable mistakes.
Got it.
Now, what about tools students should create themselves? The sources mention short notes and an error notebook.
Yeah, both are vital. Short notes need to be, well, short, 1 or 2 pages per chapter, max. And crucially, handwritten by the student themselves. Not borrowed, not printed.
Why handwritten?
The process of synthesizing and writing helps retention. And their purpose is very specific.
Yeah.
Quick recall, right before a mock test or the actual exam. Just the absolute essentials.
Okay, concise, personal, for quick review. And the error notebook. We hear about this a lot. What makes it effective, according to these experts? How is it active?
It's the review process that makes it active. You don't just log the mistake and forget it. You have to review this notebook daily, or at least weekly.
Daily or weekly. Okay.
And here's the absolute key. Before you take your next mock test, you specifically review the mistakes you made on the last one from this notebook.
Ah, so you're consciously reminding yourself, don't make that mistake again. You're actively trying to eliminate repeat errors.
Exactly. It closes the learning loop. It's not a graveyard for mistakes. It's a training ground for improvement.
Right. Okay, this leads perfectly into the whole mock test discussion. This is where, as you said, the feedback loop really comes into play. And the sources suggest the test itself is only half the story, maybe even less than half.
Oh, definitely less than half.
Mm-hmm.
The analysis phase afterwards, that's where the real gold is. It's arguably more important than setting the test.
More important. So if a student keeps getting low scores, freaking out about the number isn't the answer, what should they focus on instead during analysis?
They need to become mistake detectives. They have to track and, really importantly, differentiate between 2 main types of errors.
Which are?
Silly mistakes. These are errors in calculation, reading the question wrong, sign errors, maybe just rushing. Execution errors, basically. And then conceptual mistakes. These are the big ones. Gaps in your actual understanding of the theory or how to apply a formula.
Okay, silly versus conceptual. And which ones do they tackle first?
Prioritize the conceptual mistakes. Always. Because those represent fundamental weaknesses in your knowledge base. Fixing those gives you the biggest long-term improvement. Silly mistakes often decrease naturally with more practice and better focus, but concept gaps need direct intervention.
Fix the foundation first. Makes sense. Now, you said analysis is more important. The time commitment recommended is actually pretty startling.
It is. Get this. For a typical 3-hour mock test, students should be spending 4 to 5 hours analyzing it.
4 to 5 hours. More time reviewing than actually doing.
That's the recommendation. It sounds like a lot, I know. But analysis here doesn't mean just checking the answer key. It means properly sitting down and solving every single question you got wrong and every question you skipped.
Solving them completely, understanding the correct method.
Yes. Until you understand why your approach was wrong and how to get the right answer reliably, you haven't actually learned from the test. The analysis isn't finished.
Wow, that really reframes the purpose of mock tests. It's a diagnostic tool, not just a performance measure.
Exactly. And this intensity is even more critical when you factor in negative marking, like in JEE and NEET.
Right, the penalty for guessing wrong. What's the advice there? Is it ever worth taking a wild guess?
Almost never. The guidance is very clear. Attempt only the questions you are reasonably sure about. The threshold mentioned is around 80% confidence.
80%, that's quite high.
It is. Random guessing is strongly discouraged because the penalty can seriously drag down your score. The system is designed to reward knowledge, not luck.
Any exceptions?
Well, sometimes for numerical answer type questions in JEE mains, where there might not be negative marking or it's structured differently, a very calculated strategic guess might be slightly less risky. But even then, caution is urged. Generally, avoid pure guesswork.
Okay, focus on accuracy over quantity. What about speed then? Everyone wants to be faster. How do you develop that under exam pressure? Is it just about grinding more tests?
Grinding helps, but it's not the whole picture. Speed comes from a few things. Consistent practice, definitely. Taking mock tests under timed conditions, yes. But also consciously timing yourself during practice, like aiming for only 1 or 2 minutes per question.
Training yourself for pace.
Exactly. And probably the single most important speed technique, learning to immediately skip difficult questions. Don't get bogged down. Secure the easy marks first, then come back if you have time. Hesitation kills your overall speed.
Bank the points you know you can get. Smart. Okay, we've covered planning, techniques, feedback, but this whole process is a marathon, right? Months, maybe years. How do students maintain the mental strength?
Mental resilience. Hugely important and often overlooked until it's too late. This is absolutely non-negotiable for surviving and thriving through the prep journey.
Let's talk about anxiety. That awful feeling in the exam hall where your mind just goes blank happens to so many.
The blank out, yeah.
Uh,
It's terrifying. But there are practical things you can do.
like what?
The sources recommend practicing simple mindfulness or breathing exercises. Something like the 4-7-8 breathing technique. Inhale for 4, hold for 7, exhale for 8. Doing this before the exam and even during if you feel panic rising.
Okay, a calming technique. And if you do blank out on a specific question,
Don't fight it head on immediately. The advice is crucial. Skip it. Move on to an easier question, something you know you can solve. Get a little win, regain your confidence, break the panic cycle. Then you can circle back to the tougher one later with a clearer head.
break the cycle. Good advice. Another huge mental hurdle. The comparison trap. Constantly looking at other people's scores.
Oh, it's toxic and so hard to avoid. But the expert guidance is really firm on this.
What do they say?
Stop comparing your journey, your effort, to someone else's results. Your only benchmark should be your own progress. Are you better today than you were yesterday? Focus on your personal best.
Your only competition is yourself. Easier said than done, but essential.
Absolutely. That external comparison just breeds anxiety and demotivation if you feel you're lagging. Focus inward on your own process and improvement.
To maintain that internal focus, managing distractions is key. Social media, phones, the usual suspects. Any practical tips beyond just turn it off, especially if you need the phone for study resources.
Yeah, it's a tricky balance. The recommendations are pretty direct. Uninstall the biggest time-wasting apps. Seriously, just get rid of them for the prep period. Use app blockers or timers if you need some access.
And if that doesn't work,
The more extreme, but often effective option. Switch to a basic feature phone, a dumb phone. Calls, texts, maybe that's it. Removes the temptation entirely. Requires discipline, but it works.
minimize the pathways to distraction. Makes sense. What about burnout? That sheer exhaustion after months of grinding, how do you take a break that actually helps instead of making you feel worse?
Good question. There's a difference between a good break and a bad break. A restorative break should be short, maybe 20-30 minutes, and active.
Active how? Not more studying, surely.
No. Active as in get up, move around, go for a quick walk outside, listen to some music you enjoy, chat with family or friends about something completely unrelated, something that changes your physical and mental state.
And a bad break.
Passive breaks, like just scrolling through social media or watching random videos, that often just strains your eyes more and doesn't really refresh your mind. You need to disconnect to recharge properly.
Active rest, not passive zoning out. Got it. One last area. Weak subjects. Everyone has one. Maybe physics for a NEET student, for example. How do you tackle that without letting it derail everything?
You can't ignore it, but you also can't let it consume all your time. The strategy is twofold.
Mm,
Allocate more time, maybe 50% more, to your weak subject compared to your strong ones.
50% more.
Okay. But, and this is important, don't try to become an expert in the entire syllabus overnight. Start strategically. Focus only on the high weightage, relatively easier to score chapters within that weak subject first.
Like which ones, for example, in physics?
Maybe things like modern physics, thermodynamics, sometimes parts of electrostatics, chapters where the concepts are perhaps more self-contained or frequently tested. Secure those marks first, build confidence, then expand if time allows.
Build competence and confidence with targeted wins. Don't try to boil the ocean.
Exactly. It prevents overwhelm and makes tackling the weak subject feel more manageable.
This has been incredibly insightful. So much practical advice packed in there. Just to quickly recap some big ones. Ditch the daily timetable for weekly goals. Live by that 80-20 practice over theory rule. And remember, mock test analysis takes longer and is more important than the test itself.
Absolutely. And maybe one final point on commitment, especially regarding dropping a year. The experts are clear. It's only worth considering if you are genuinely ready for intense self-discipline, can precisely pinpoint your previous mistakes, and crucially, are prepared to fundamentally change your strategy to fix those specific issues.
So it's not just about putting in more time, it's about putting in smarter, more self-aware effort based on past failings.
Precisely. Honest self-assessment and the willingness to adapt are paramount. Knowledge alone isn't enough. It's about implementation and correction.
You know, this whole deep dive really highlights that success isn't just about knowing things, it's about knowing what you don't know and having a system to address it. We talked about that identify, formulate, solve method for numerical problems. It makes you wonder, if you applied that same structured thinking, identify, formulate, solve, to your biggest goal in life, not just an exam problem, what's the core concept you'd need to identify first? What structure are you missing right now to actually formulate the solution and then solve for it?
That's a great question to leave people with. Definitely food for thought. Thanks for tuning into The Deep Dive.
We'll catch you next time.